Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new year, to the new beginnings. It's my first live recording this year, so please do say hello if you are tuning in. I'd love to hear how is the start of the new year for you, and yeah, please do say hello. Well, I've been away for a few weeks over Christmas, spent some lovely time with my family, and now we're back on track. We'll be doing again this year all live streaming recordings every Thursday, focusing on human needs at work and well-being and performance. So where am I at with the start of the year? I guess I'm not being as clear as I always am after. It's always so difficult to come back after you've not been doing something for a period of time, even if it's just a couple of weeks over Christmas. But I thought what we can start with those New Year episodes, if you wish, is by talking about our goals and intentions. And of course, most of us set some sort of goals, New Year's resolutions, and we realize that most of those intentions do not come into reality. And a lot of our New Year's resolutions of, eating healthier, not drinking alcohol, losing weight, whatever that is, the statistics show that 3/4 of those are already abandoned by the second week in February. So we see these huge statistics of, new gym memberships and people really taking on of starting something new and going on their new health journey in January. And yet that energy and that motivation to do that wears off quite quickly. So I don't know where this statistic is taken from and how exactly specifically measured, but I read that only 8% of all of our goals and resolutions are actually realized by the end of the year. So if you think of this, 8% looks pretty small to me. And for me, as a behavioral neuroscientist who are always looking at what we do, why we do, and how we do this, it's really interesting. Why is it that we know what's good for us and we know what is it that we should be doing, and yet somehow it becomes very difficult for us to go through with it and to really implement some of those actions and goals in our reality. So why is it that so difficult? Now, mainly, I see there are three reasons of why our goals and intentions fail. And it's got to do with the way we set goals and our intentions in the first place. The second is with how we act on those intentions. And third is how we measure success. And it seems like all of those processes are somehow distorted because we are not really working in line with how our mind, brain, and body has been designed to thrive and to work towards our goals through millions of years of evolution. So what can we do to improve? Let's look at all of those things in detail. And yeah, please do say hello. Hi to those who are tuning in. Good to see you. And please feel free to share with me what you would like to achieve in this new year and what you would like to do differently. But most importantly as well, what do you think stops you from realizing your goals and your full potential in real life? So hopefully we can work through some of those. Okay, so let's go back through some of those obstacles of what's stopping us from realizing our goals. So first, like I mentioned, it's the way we set goals. And here, it's very important to realize that different people have different motivators, and the way we work towards or away from something shapes our motivation. Now, some people are motivated to work towards something amazing and something better, and they are the dreamers who always working towards a better future. And I'm definitely one of those. And I have this kind of pull towards motivation where I am imagining a better world and I'm working towards something that I don't have yet. But some other people are actually derive their motivation by working away from something instead. So there are people who, sometimes you guide them to say, imagine what you would like. And people are struggling to sometimes visualize the future or the goals or what they want, because their motivation is actually going away from pain, going away from maybe a current situation, away from something that you don't want. Now, in ideal situation, we would want to have a healthy balance of both, right? And knowing that there is a destination that we are working towards, but also if we don't move towards that, what is the worst that can happen? And what are all of them kind of threats and dangers of us not taking action? And when we realize both, it can give both of those extremes, it can really give us the best energy to kind of pull and push us towards our goals and away from what we don't want. But it's very important to know whether your primary motivator is the goal and you're working towards, or your primary motivator is actually the pain and the hurt and something that you're working away from, because you can use that in the way you are setting your goals, in the way you are planning your actions. Now, very often we are guided through different visualization practices to say, really associate yourself in that state where you want to be and imagine yourself as you already have it. Now, there are some dangers with that, because for some people, it can be, the situation can be used to trick your brain as if you already have it, right? And if your brain cannot distinguish what is real and what is imagined, and you're already imagining as you already have all of those things, then from where do you now get energy to work towards that? If you already confuse your brain to say that, oh, I already have this, or maybe I don't even have to work towards that and go through all of the hard effort and all hard work and labor to get there, if I can have all of my feel good dopamine just by imagining, right? And just having that feeling simply by imagination alone. So there is that danger that if we don't balance that nice ideal with what we don't have, and we don't create distance between where you are and where you want to go, we can create this perceived comfort zone where we can just have a dose of motivation and dopamine simply by imagining, and it actually prevents us from really taking action. So what can we do? Ideally, when we set our goals and we set our intentions, I think it is very important to know what specifically you want. Because if you don't know what you want, it's like driving somewhere without putting a specific postcode in your destination, right? So you never arrive exactly where you want to go. But you can also be much more broader with that. Instead of setting specific intentions, you can say what more of you would like in your life: more calm, more love, more courage, more what emotional energy you would like to have as well. So some of those kind of direction intentions can be very useful as well. But once we much more clearer on what we want and how our life would look like in private life, in our family, in our relationships, in our work, in creative adventures, it's very important to then be able to plan backwards to see what is it specifically that you need to do in the next 3 months. So more or less 12 weeks, right? Now, why this period is so specific? Now, it's really got to do with the way our brain processes perception of time and space. So while it is very useful to actually dream big and associate with long-term goals and think about who you would like to become in 5-10 years time, we then, from that place, we can then think, what is it that you need to do now? What are the next steps, and what are actions that needs to happen in the next 12 months? Because this is the only time frame within which we are able to plan specifics of logistics and actions. Anything beyond that, it becomes less tangible. So you can have some milestones and goals, obviously, for the future, but planning details is really not useful beyond that point, because our life is so unpredictable. It changes so quickly. While within 3 months, we can really make it into reality, and we can really predict and plan to quite close plans with our reality. So, going back to this big goals and whether it's actually useful to associate yourselves into that state and feel that or not, I would say that to a degree, it is useful, and it is useful to most people to have a taster of what would it feel like, what it would look like, what would it be like to already have it. And from that space, you can actually look back and to see how exactly did I get here. Because this can influence your kind of mindset of abundance and mindset of scarcity, right? If you plan from a place of desperation, if you plan from the mindset of I'm not good enough, I can't have this, I want this, but it's unattainable, it's unachievable, and so on, your actions are limited in its nature, from just defined by the place from which you set those goals, right? But if you allow yourself to associate in this place where you already done it, you already have it, and then from that emotional place, you look back and see, what did I do in my past that helped me to get there? It can be very, very useful way of planning for success and seeing the details that are very crucial parts of making things happen. And sometimes it's not just about planning. A lot of that is about how much we believe in ourselves, and do we believe that this is possible and that we can and we are worthy, and all of these beliefs that are surrounding that goal and action. So definitely, I would say it is important to be able to associate in that, to plan from that. However, as soon as we've done that, it is important that we create some distance between that, and we step away from that and we say, okay, now if this is just far away in the distance and I'm looking towards that and I'm working or walking towards that, what is it that needs to happen between here and now and that destination, and what needs to happen next? How exactly do I bridge that gap? And you plan from that with the threat of what happens if I don't take action, what happens if I don't act on this. So this creates this kind of push and pull tension where you are able to tap into that positive energy, but also you are able to create this distance and have these strategic, rational steps to work towards that within the next, let's say, 12 weeks or so. And how do we measure progress? Now, it's important that we plan backwards some of those milestones and we say, okay, so if what is it that I need to achieve in the next 3 months? What is it that I need to achieve by month 2 and by month 1? And then you start planning some of your weekly and daily goals. But you don't have to do that all in one go. You plan your, let's say every week you can plan ahead, and you reflect a month ahead. So if we plan too much and too far, we can get lost in the details. So it's best to set big goal for 3 months with milestones of second and first month, and only then break into first month, you then break into weekly goals, and then the first week you can break into daily actions, and you keep working towards that. And adjusting then as you go every week and every day if needs be. Now, very often we know it is the right thing to do, but we fail to implement it in action. Why? Because we think of ourselves as these rational, intelligent human beings, able to, set goals and achieve things at will. But actually, we are creatures of habit, and most of our habits and behaviors are driven by these automatic habits, subconscious automatic routines. And it is a way of preserving energy. It is a way of predicting what's yet to happen. And our brain is constantly predicting the next steps based actually on our values, beliefs, past events, and perceptions of our reality. So it is important that we don't just use our cognitive prefrontal rational part of the brain to work towards those goals, because that part of the brain is actually the newest from evolutionary terms, and therefore consumes the biggest amount of energy. If we really want to make it easier, we really want to incorporate all of our actions routines into daily habits to the point where it becomes automatic subconscious routine, something like brushing your teeth. And other thing that is also more important is stacking some of those actions to things that we are already doing, that are already automatic. So if there are specific things that you already do, stacking some additional actions on top of that can help you to stick to that. So, for example, I don't drink enough of water. I'm really struggling to drink enough during the day. I forget. I'm never thirsty. But there are specific things that I know that I always do, such as drinking a cup of coffee every morning. So that's no fail. I know that I will always have that cup of coffee in the morning. So while I'm boiling a kettle, I would then have a glass of water before that. So if there are specific things that you know that you already do, such as brushing your teeth, what is it exactly that you can do every time after you brush your teeth, or every time before you do that? So you start building some of these little routines and habits. And ideally, your morning routine and your evening routine are the most important ones, because it's a frame for the success in your entire day, right? So I really, really would recommend to take your time and to really engineer your habits and your routines, specifically your morning and evening routines. So we looked at how we set goals. We looked a little bit about actions and really shifting away from this very kind of forceful, willful way of working towards building automatic habits and routines. And the final thing that I think is important to mention is how we measure our success, how we measure our goals. And very often we set those goals and intentions, but in reality, they're not really goals. They are actually outcomes of some of our actions. So, something like, income goal, for example, money, which is always used as a goal, is not really a goal. It's actually an outcome of some processes and results that you achieve. So I would definitely encourage you to separate those things. So what is the process? What is the result of that process? And what is the outcome of that process? So if you were to apply this, for example, in business context, Process might be a number of sales calls you make. Result might be the number of clients you close, and the outcome would be the amount of sales that you have made from those. And what you want to track is actually not the outcome, which is, in a way, it's like a byproduct of you doing your action, right? But you really want to measure your process and your results, and most importantly, the relationship between the two, right? So instead of saying that I need to have specific number of calls or I need to have specific number of clients, we look at the relationship of how many calls do I need to make in order to have specific number of closes, right? Or specific amount of sales. And it's interesting to then explore what happens if it doesn't happen, right? So what if you say that, okay, based on your success rates, you should be able to have 10 calls to close 3 clients, but actually you do 10 calls and you only close 1 client. What happens then, right? What does that mean for how you set goals and for how you measure success? Does that mean that you need to actually up your action and have 30 calls to close your 3 clients? Or does this actually mean that you need to go and retrain in your sales technique to make sure that you achieve better results with your 10 calls, right? So you see, by analyzing the result, we can come up with different ways and different routes of achieving the same goal. And that's really the key to success. It's not only just what we want, but all the different ways of how we can get there. And the most important thing that I can leave you with is our mindset and our approach to that. If we say, is it possible for me to achieve this or not? Most often, your brain will come up with all sorts of excuses and limitations of why you can't do this, why it's not good enough, why you are not good enough, why there are some resources or not enough time or some other things that are missing. And if we want instead to work towards a goal with more positive mindset, in a way that we believe in ourselves and in our ability to achieve those goals, we shouldn't be asking if this is possible or not. We should just ask how. So we set the goal and we say, okay, what are all the different ways to get there? How can I get there? And when we ask how question, there is no space for doubts there, right? There are just all of these different ways and experimentation of how exactly we can find a way. And if this way doesn't work and the next way doesn't work, now you are 2 steps closer to finding the way that it does, right? So you can see how the mindset approach is so crucial in how we look at our goals and the success that we are then able to achieve out of our actions. So I hope you find that helpful. Please let me know if you would like any help setting some of your goals and some of your intentions. Please feel free to drop me a message, ask me any questions, and please share with me in your comments, what is it that you are trying to achieve this year and how exactly you are going about to getting there. So to your success and speak soon.